Hello and welcome to Macstaff Live. My name's Martin Crowson and I'm joined today by the Managing Director of Macstaff, Anthony McCormack. Good morning, Anne.
Hi, Martin. Good or afternoon, obviously, depending on where you are. And,
or evening.
Or evening. The viewers tuning in. Or evening.
Yeah, now we're always grateful of Ant's time for these YouTube lives. And just a reminder to people who haven't subscribed yet, if you hit the subscribe and the notification bell, you'll always find out when we're going to be online with these tips and ideas from the world of trying to get a job sorted. But a special thanks to Anthony today, who joins us on his birthday. So many congratulations, Ant. 21 again, no doubt.
I know, that's the thing, yeah. So love you. And you never work a day in your life, they say, don't they? Yeah, couldn't think of a better spot to celebrate.
I think you'll have to work on that anti-sarcastic response again sometime, so we might do that again. But for the time being, we'll plough on and we'll concentrate on what we're trying to do today. Firstly, thanks a lot for joining us, folks, today. We've done 5 or 6 of these before, and they're proving to become very popular now. The last one we did, which was called Rising Above Rejection, we've had a fantastic response for, so thank you to everyone that's bothered to give us feedback on that. Today, we're going to be talking about wages and salary and discussing how close to being on the money your salary is, wherever you're working, and some of the ideas and thoughts behind the ideas of whether we should chase the big bucks or whether settling for happiness in our job is something you can't put a value on. So we'll kick in with some basic economics of supply and demand. And you talk about if there's plenty of people around for your job, naturally wages are going to go down, and that always remains the same, doesn't it?
Yeah. So and there's economics in there, which I'll touch on in a sec, but I guess before I do that, just to point out, like, to people listening, you're in my book, you're a human being. You've got value, so don't get too hung up, if possible, on exact salaries, on job titles. They come and go. To be fair, so good advice I got from excuse me, an old boss is don't get too up on yourself when things are up, and don't get too down on yourself when things are on the way down, because that's just cyclical, isn't it? And a seasonal type thing. But to say supply and demand, if we were talking at it from a purely commodity point of view, when things are in greater supply relative to demand, they're going to be cheaper, aren't they? Like water, versus if something's relatively high demand and short supply, like diamonds, they're going to be expensive. To kind of carry on with that analogy a little bit more as well, like you get 5 millionaires like dying of thirst in the desert, they'll give everything that they own for that bottle of water, won't they? And the bottle of water didn't do anything. It's not different at all. It's just that one day this value, another day another value. So just roll with it, I think.
Okay, money is something that attracts all of us. That's why we're here. We need some money to do nice things with, and the job pays. We don't work for free. But what are the dangers of if you're looking for a job and there's, say, there's 3 options on the table, and you're in a really good position, and one's paying a lot more than something else? Lots of people's eyes would light up and think that's the one to go for. But what are the dangers of making that decision and going solely for the option that pays the most?
Yeah, and it's always a hot topic about salary. Everybody wants to know that, to quote the title of this, that their salary's on the money. People are going to get a little peed off if they think they're falling behind, and woohoo if they're moving ahead. But to kind of expand on the economics thing from before, actually, it's a little different with salaries than it is for market rates on other things, in that they're sticky. Salaries will kind of quickly go up to an increased demand or a reduced supply, to a point, but they won't adjust back down like, say, petrol prices would, because you can't force people to take a salary cut. So it tends to have these like quite dramatic adjustments, whereas things go up in times of scarcity. Like thinking back to last recession for QSs, they were 40k, then suddenly 42, 45, pushing 50k. But then when the bottom fell out of the market, those same guys being made redundant, like in mass, en masse, because it's too much then, and companies sometimes feel they can then buy in the same skills or similar skills for like 30k. So that's one of the dangers, going round to your question of being paid too much. It's there's potentially a target on your back there. And another thing is, it's great, go for a big salary, but it's wise to ask yourself why. Why is that company paying more than the others? Like normally it's because they have to. They don't pay just out of generosity as a rule. Like if they're struggling with their the company reputation, they might have to pay more. If they're in a difficult geographical area, or if it's just a really hard job. Like, do you remember, things probably changed, but back in the day, Aldi, they paid more than the other supermarkets, didn't they? Because their checkout
That's right,
like super fast and whatever. So it was kind of just well known that they paid the most, but you've kind of really earned your money. Like it was blood, sweat, and tears. But and quid pro quo, isn't it? If money is the most important thing, I've said before, like go for it, suck it up, do the job you hate, like the really hard or dangerous job, like bomb disposal expert. But if you've got other priorities of work-life balance or family or health, then do factor those in as well. That those things are valuable.
Yeah, so you're not saying don't go for the job that pays the most, but you are saying be wary of the factors behind it, in summary.
Yeah, 100%. So it's a factor, but unless you're really against the wall financially, maybe it's not the only factor. We'll probably come on to this as well, but everybody focuses on their income, but really what they want is disposable income, isn't it? There's a lot of talk from politicians in recent years about the jams, wasn't there? People, just about managing, and realistically, that's probably all of us, because we tend to live up to our means and sometimes beyond our means in credit kind of card world, don't we? And that can leave you feeling stuck, and trying to get out of that feeling stuck can lead you to pursue a higher salary, irrespective of whether you really want the job or the company or not, in order to make a little gap. But it's way less fun, isn't it? But how about spending less and achieving the same thing, isn't it? It's I think it was a Warren Buffett, but presumably loads of people have said that's kind of rule number one in finances, isn't it? Spend less than you earn. Be patient.
As with lots of things we discuss on these YouTube lives, it's all about the bigger picture, isn't it? And one of the things we could perhaps move on to now is the working environment that people find themselves in. And if that is a positive working environment and a positive culture, what price can be put on that part of your job, in terms of, perhaps you're not on the biggest amount of money compared to friends or colleagues, but you really, really enjoy the job and you respect your boss and you like the people you work with. What price can you put on that?
Yeah, exactly. And, you're not trying to justify it to anybody, are you? And that's kind of partly why people feel a bit precious about it. Actually, if, I'm on less salary than like Martin or something, I might feel embarrassed about that and, feel that I, need to justify it to other people and things like that. But, really you don't. You're your own kind of person, aren't you? And you've got your own priorities. And I think once you've kind of reflected and worked out what they are, just pursue them. For me personally, to a point, obviously, yes, culture and working environment is way more important than the exact, compensation, because you spend, 2/3 of your waking life at work. I think you said, do you compromise on happiness at the beginning there? It's like, hold on, that's not a compromise. That is, that is everything. And money as well. It is it is required. It's like oxygen, isn't it? And it's to a certain extent a worthy goal. But it's not intrinsically motivational. Like I read around a load of stuff, as you know, but this one, Drive by Daniel Pink, amongst lots of other things, is talking about that it can actually have a disincentive if you only do things for money, because like people will only do them for money and potentially more money the next time, like paying your kids to do chores. It can like actually have the reverse effect, because they won't lift a finger unless
absolutely
it's
right. You speak from personal experience there.
Exactly. So what is genuinely motivational is what is your purpose, like as an individual, as a business? What are you living and working in line with your values? Like, are you on a mission which is kind of greater than yourself, sort of thing? It might seem cheesy, but those kind of things will get you out of bed at the morning, and achieving your best and things like that. And it won't necessarily be the money side, although of course I appreciate that people have got to pay the bills and things like that.
Sure. And without going into specifics, having been in the industry for 20 years, you must have had plenty of examples where you've known people who have taken on highly paid roles and wanted to get out of there 3 months later, or alternatively, taking on a job and they come back in a year's time and say, this is amazing and I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And again, it's a luxury position, I suppose, isn't it, to be able to take the one that you want the most rather than the one that pays the most. But I've certainly had lots of times when especially say when I've been representing them in a job search and they're like, sorry, Anthony, I've just got to take this other job, offer I can't refuse, sort of thing. But like we were just discussing, like why why is that an atypically high salary? And sometimes it's just because the companies like absolutely need to get bums on seats. Maybe it's even for a specific project or to get themselves over a hump, and there's not long-term security in that job anyway, but they're just against the wall. Like I can think of times when QSs were looking for an extra $5,000 or whatever, and the one guy said, I'm gonna join this home builder instead of contractor that had been working for previously. They seem to pay more at the moment, and they did, and but the job then he came back to me and described it as like, I'm a glorified like invoice like clerk here, and it's like so repetitive. And not only is it that you're then not enjoying the job, but you're not building your career then potentially, are you?
Sure.
It's not a snapshot, it's a direction, isn't it? Things need to be strategic to be taking you towards your your long-term or your ultimate goals.
Okay, let's say I'm moving out of a certain job sector, for example, and moving into something slightly different. I don't really know what a base price is or what's an average price for a certain role. Where can I find out information like that? Is there anywhere online where I can make myself more acquainted with the sort of figures I should be looking for?
Yeah, that's the nuts and bolts of it, isn't it? And it's one of those, like, yes, there is places you can look, but no, again, not it's not kind of detailed or comprehensive information. If we drew an analogy with like estate agencies, you can go on, that's how you do your own valuation, isn't it? Or even the estate agents do. It's look at what else is on the market, what price they're asking. And you can do that to a certain extent with jobs, because there's job boards. So big ones would be CV Library, Reed, Job Site, aka Total Jobs. Go and have a look at the job that you're targeting and see what market rates are in your area, and if it if you're open to relocation, are they more in other areas of the country? But what we don't have then is like the Zoopla type information of what was that house finally sold for, because that's a personal thing then between the client and the candidate, the employer and the job seeker, so that accurate information just actually isn't available. There's other ways around it, obviously, as well. Like, I mean, asking a network, by all means, especially people that you kind of trust. And if you're dealing with a, reputable recruiter, they'll probably be able to give you a fair old guide, like, and some honest information. They just probably won't be able to show you a whole data set for it, because, again, there's not like masses of amount of data on specific industries and jobs and levels and locations and at the right time. Like, it's a moving target.
Sure. Okay, that's probably a good point at this moment in time to explain that there's also plenty of jobs available on www.macstaff.co.uk.
it's only me, and like there's over 100 right now. So yeah, it's a feature at the market that we're snowed under, and people are in high demand. Like jobs are difficult to fill across the board. So yeah, it's a good time to be considering job search for sure.
Okay. We talk about knowing what sort of a base figure is for wages, but what is it important to know as much as possible about a role that you may be going for in a sort of a cliche that knowledge is power as you're going in? We won't discuss salary negotiations too much because that's the next YouTube live we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks' time. But why is that important when you're lining something up?
Yeah, it's like knowledge is power, as you say, and we're in a kind of an information kind of world these days, aren't we? So customers are more informed, they're more discerning, they've got more information at their fingertips in loads of buying situations, and it's just basically putting yourself in that situation, as the person thinking about entering a job search or going to your career review, or even just deciding, like, am I in a bit of a dead end, like jobs and industry wise? Should I retrain and make a break for another sector which might give me more long-term upside? So yeah, do your research. If you're going to enter any sort of kind of debate or negotiation, then the more information and the more planning that you put into that, the better, isn't it? Because if you're going to go looking for an extra grand at your next salary review or whatever, then put up a good case, give evidence and give it your best shot, because money is certainly, whilst it's not everything, it's definitely important.
I remember growing up that as British people, we don't tend to talk about salary. It's almost socially unacceptable being in positions in pubs where someone asks somebody else how much they earn. There's a collective gasp around the table that someone's even dared to ask something so personal, whereas it may be different in other cultures. Is that changing for us Brits, or are we still the same? We're still reluctant to talk about these things, and how does that affect it?
Yeah, it is. It is un-British, isn't it? I guess. And I'm British, obviously, and I'm a recruiter. I don't even like talking about it. If I have to represent somebody that I know personally, that conversation is still kind of awkward. But I guess contractors and temps are more free and easy about talking about that. Like, in a way, I think because it's less personally tied to the individual's value and worth. But yeah, people don't like talk about their salary, and it's probably right, like it's private, isn't it? And the conversation just doesn't tend to end well, does it? Because it's left with one person like being like and the other person that's like, oh no, like I feel a bit rubbish. And if you're empathetic, like myself, I would then like feel bad that if I've said that I've got more salary than the other person, and I'm also wondering, like, do they now think I'm a bit of a douchebag for kind of engineering the situation where we've ended up sharing information?
So you can't win in that conversation. We wonder why we don't talk about it.
Yeah, so it might be best left well alone. But if you're doing research, there's people that are more relevant to ask than others. Obviously, like people doing the same job, or like a HR manager that might have kind of insight on salaries within their organization, but just in general as well. And you can kind of softball it as well. So if I'm looking to find out what an IT manager would likely earn in kind of home counties these days, I can ask another IT manager, what in general have you found, or what range would you pay that kind of person in your organization? And it's not nailing it down to their personal salary then, isn't it? But you still get the information that you want.
Yeah, sure. We've done a YouTube live before, and it's about social media and whether it can be your friend or not when going for jobs. And it sort of opens up the idea that it's not just what's on your CV or what you tell people you do for work that's important when creating a job. So is there any way outside of work, along with your social media platforms and being careful about what you post or not, where you can actually increase your market value, or certainly help your market value with things you might be doing outside of the office?
Yeah, potentially things that you're doing in the job and in the office and outside the office. Yeah, it's people talk about personal brand, don't they? And it's kind of more important, I suppose, in some industries like ours, than others. Like if you're more of a tradesperson or something like that. No, actually though, it's still important, isn't it? It's if you're being good at your job, but I suppose being known as being kind of good at your
Sure.
job, or with
Yeah.
certain values or credentials or skills and things like that, because then yeah, your value is subtly different to the general market rate for what you do, isn't it? Like if you're renowned as the best kind of movie director in the world, like Steven Spielberg's going to be on a bit more cash than another director to do a movie, isn't he? So yeah, I think your reputation and how you engineer that with social media and other tools can definitely help you out in this regard.
Yeah, just while we touched on social media, I just wanted to thank everyone that's followed us on LinkedIn recently on the Macstaff Global side, because we've recently passed 5,000 followers on that. So much appreciated from everybody involved in Macstaff for getting involved in that. So thank you for that. We'll end in a summary, and again, without getting sanctimonious, why is it so important to keep your salary in perspective? And we touched on it at the start about the value of money. Money is not everything, but salary and jobs, and it is part of a bigger picture, isn't it? We speak about that all the time, but it really is.
Yeah. So you're going to want to be paid a fair salary and get that kind of personal satisfaction from that, and be able to provide for your family or do whatever you do. But yeah, I encourage people to keep it in perspective, because it's a factor in a number of other important factors. My guru, kind of Robin Sharma, says health is wealth. You can't. There's nothing more important than health, really, and there's relationships and work-life balance. There's kind of physical health, there's mental health. Like that's all the top talk at the moment, isn't it? Like if you're unhappy doing a job, like it's there's no kind of salary that's worthwhile for that, really, isn't it? And we haven't kind of touched on this just yet, but knowing your market value isn't the same as influencing your market value either, is it? What we ought to be more focused on or obsessed on is increasing our value. You increase your value and your salary will naturally follow suit, either within your kind of current job and company or by making a move. Having more training and extra qualifications, or having a better reputation or better relationships, or just, I suppose, like working smarter or harder in our job, achieving more. It's all putting upward pressure on your market value and therefore your salary. So it'd be more important to kind of focus on that, I think, than like trying to just bean count like our own salary and benchmarking against others.
Yeah, fantastic. A good place for us to end. So thank you very much to everyone for joining. Before we go, Anthony, the topics we've covered today are all involved in your book, Job Search, Job Done. Do you want to let people know a little bit about that and where they can get hold of it if they wanted to find out more information?
Yeah, I'm just looking for it. I've always got it, and it's not on my desk today, but yeah.
Good preparation, Anthony.
Yeah, I didn't even fix that. Yeah. So Job Search, Job Done is my book on all things job search, taking you from the stage of like, do I even want to be looking for a new job, through to interviews and cover letters and CVs and negotiating an offer, which is the next YouTube live, isn't it, with Macstaff, through to career planning and things like that. So yeah, I think it's a good one-stop shop success manual, and you can pick that up on Amazon.
And as Anthony just said there, negotiating your offer is going to be our next YouTube live, which we'll be doing soon. So as I said, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell, and you'll be the first to find out when that broadcast is going to be. For more information, log on to www.macstaff.co.uk. You can find out more information there, and follow us on socials. Macstaff are on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And that just leaves me, Martin Crowson, to say thanks once again, Anthony, for your time today. Enjoy the rest of your birthday.
Thanks very much, Martin, and thanks for joining us. And you're welcome. Can't wait till the next time, to be honest.
Join us soon for negotiating your offer, and also remember that there's plenty of Macstaff lives on the Macstaff YouTube channel right now, which cover things like interviews, how to get the best CV for your own chances, and preparing for jobs. And also the last one we did, dealing with rejection from jobs, has had a fantastic response, as we said at the start. So thanks again for your support on that. Thanks again to Anthony, and we'll catch you all soon here on Macstaff Live. Bye-bye.
Goodbye for now.